ride the course, come over here. We're going to go longer. Stay.
Yo, what's up? Mr. Watson here with another video, and this one is one of my favorites. This is Into the Lion's Den. So this is the race that was put on by the Williams brothers, and it was in Sacramento, California. So late season race. We were just coming off of a long season with the whole series going on around the country. We finished up with the state championship race, and basically, started teetering with the idea that we wanted to do this race, and we weren't really sure how we were going to go about getting into it, so on and so forth. Reached out to Justin Williams, and I didn't get an answer immediately, but then the team owner, Joito, with Amino Rip Factory Racing, opened up a WhatsApp chat and invited us all and said we're in. So the next question was, let's build a team to be competitive here. So that's exactly what we did. We went out, and the team consisted of 3 core members. So we had Tony Baca, Sebastian Cano, myself, Justin Boldy. We have a new rider named Connor from Good Guys. And then we had 2 guest riders that we added on to the squad, Stefan from Elbows Racing and Canyon from Elbows Racing. And we just vibed really well. So I've never met those 2. I just met Connor at the state road race the week before. Super chill guy, easy to get along with. Just kind of clicked as a teammate. We really worked well together at the states. So coming into this, I really didn't have any problems, thinking that we were going to be bumping heads. We're all on the same plan. Ended up meeting Canyon on a Friday when I got there. Once again, super cool guy, easy to get along with. And then Stefan, met him the following morning, the day of the race, and it was like, man, this is awesome. This is gonna be a great day. So things are different about the Lion's Den. Like I said prior, it's put on by Justin Williams and Corey Williams, and it's like the whole concept is nothing like the way crit racing has been in the past and what I'm used to. So invite only. Teams are represented from the city that they're from. So you had like Miami, you had Austin, you had Los Angeles, you had Sacramento, and so on and so forth. And then these teams were 6 riders racing for that city. So instead of racing for your team and your sponsors, it was you're racing for the city that you represent, which was a different concept, but I wasn't sure how this was all going to work going into it. We had numbers on our back, and numbers have been around forever with sports. You see it on baseball, hockey, lacrosse, football. All these sports, people have numbers on their back with their last names. You don't have that in cycling. Your jerseys are usually made up of your sponsors and your team that you race for, but you don't ever have your last name put on the team. And this was really cool. It felt nostalgic. Like you put your jersey on and it has your name on it and it has a number that you want. Like that pumped me up, and we were all matching, and it was just like we were going into war. I was pumped. So best of the best were represented at this race. You had people that were a world tour coming back from Europe. You had people that raced in the Olympics against Remco and whoever else. You had YouTubers, you had just Cat 1 amateur dudes like me, and it's just so cool. But everybody raced at a high level. Everybody knew how to race a bike here, and they knew what they were getting into. And it was something that was going to change the way bike racing was going to be from now on. And I really believe that. When I first went and signed up for this race, I had no idea what I was getting into. I don't know if this was going to be like the Legion show, which it was, which that's cool. Second of all, I didn't know what to expect. So I show up in Sacramento and I walk into the hotel, and immediately I'm like, oh, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is changing the game. Had a press conference, listened to them talk, kind of showed their lineup and talked about their history and just really what brought them into racing and what Legion has done for American crit racing in general. And even people in Europe now talking about it. And the idea is that we don't, we want racing to be popular here in the States. We want people to race crits. Road racing is dead. No, it's not, but still, crit racing is on the rise, and that's what we want. So, we talked about the numbers, we talked about the change that they want to see in racing, and here we are racing. So, front of the race, I knew this course, 4-corner crit course, I believe it was one of the courses that was used for Tour de California, one of the circuit races for, I think, stage 1. So super fast course, about a mile long straightaways, wide open on both sides. Going into the finish, they kind of narrowed it off with the barriers because of the fans. Most of the turns were pretty well, smooth, safe, opened. Can really do like two wide, maybe 3 wide through them, but I knew it was going to be fast. Weather was fantastic. I think it was like upper 50s or 60s, so I'm used to overheating and dying of humidity. Didn't have that problem here at all. But I knew going into this, and we all knew, that a breakaway really is unrealistic on this field and this whole course. And the reason is that Legion had Legion A team and Legion B team. And the way that they set it up, halfway through, actually like a quarter of the way through, I was like, oh, I know what's going on now. They had the Legion B squad basically control the whole first set of the race, and then the Legion A squad took over the second set of the race. And it was really hard to get anything. I mean, we're going 30 miles an hour. We averaged over 30 miles an hour for an hour and 20 minutes. So you could imagine getting in a breakaway, you would need probably like 6 guys that are so committed, ready to bury themselves to make it to the line. And that's just not going to happen, because I think everybody wanted to do good in this race, and the prize payout was unbelievable. So let's talk about that really quick. Prize payout, first place, $15K. What? $15K? I just did a race in Florida where it was a 3-day race, or 3 races in 2 days, and I got second place overall and got $70. So we're talking, this is big money on the line. And there was no egos or anything like that. People weren't killing themselves going in the corners. You weren't getting your wheel chopped. You didn't feel like you were going to die at every corner like I sometimes did in a lot of those USA crit races that I did. You didn't have any of that here, and it could have been a little bit of the course being wide open. But not only did they have $15,000 for first place and so on and so forth all the way down to 10th place, the preems were unbelievable. So they had like a 10-minute preem, a 30-minute preem. They had 10 laps to go, which was a $4,000 payout preem. Something like that, crazy. $1,000 preems being thrown at you every like 10 minutes or so. And then the gambler preem. So it was like so much money up for grabs that the racing was just, there's just going to be no breakaway, because it was, the way it played out was everybody would basically speed up, the preem would happen, and then there would be like a little counter attack from that preem, but we were already going so fast and the field was so stretched out that as soon as we all bunched back together, it almost like slingshotted you back up to that group that was trying to get away, because we were moving at like 32 to 35 and that breakaway group was moving at 28 to 30. So it was just like, you're going to catch them. They're just not going to stay away. So huge prize money. The course we talked about, and we talked about the racers. So let's actually talk about how the race played out. So going into this race, we really wanted to work for Sebastian and we really wanted to work for Connor. Those are our two best options for a field sprint here. And Stefan, Canyon, and myself were really to go on early moves. If a breakaway happened, just be represented, be at the front, rotate, go off the front, try to get a preem here and there, which I did, and I got beat by the U.S. National Pro Champion. Not a bad person to lose to, but yeah. So, and then, you had Tony Baca, and Tony is really good at bringing us around the field and getting us into position about where we need to be. So that was his job. Stay around Sebastian and Connor and then lead them through the peloton, get them to the front, keep them safe, get them up to the front for the cornering, and then drop back, so on and so forth. So, and we executed it perfect. This team really was the dream team that we just raced really well together. We all were bunched up together most of the race, with the exceptions of our attacks or when I'm at the front. Right here, Mike's Bikes guy goes. I see him go. I bridge with him, and he flicks his elbow, and I'm kind of like talking to him right now. I'm like, why are we doing this? This is about 30 minutes into the race or so, and I already kind of know what's going on here. So he flicks his elbow, and he's like, let's pull, let's go. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. We're here. Let's make it happen. Let's see what happens. So I take a short pull. I look back and notice that Legion's drilling on the front again. So I basically pull off. He kind of gives me an earful going, I just got back on, but I'm not gonna push myself and waste energy knowing that I'm just gonna get caught. And I want to make sure I don't get caught in the swarm. So on this back section of the course, what would happen a lot is you'd have two pace lines that would form out of turn 2. And you'd have a pace line that went up on the left-hand side that was moving a little bit quicker, and you had a pace line that was moving on the right-hand side that was a little bit slower. So what would happen is that pace line would go up and people would travel up with that left pace line. And then as we're approaching the turn 3, everybody would move over and it would basically like bunch you into the barriers, and you would lose like 25 spots at that point. So the main thing was to try to get to the front as fast as you can into turn 3, because as soon as you come out of turn 3, you have a short distance and you go into turn 4 and do a long straightaway again. So it was a constant battle to really stay in that top like 20 guys. But it just realistically didn't happen. You get the swarm, you get thrown through the washing machine, you'd have to like shuffle your way through and make your way back up to the front. As I'm doing right now, I'm doing a 1,000-watt effort going almost 40 miles an hour to move up to the front of the race before I make the left into turn 1. Because you just don't want to be far back. I don't want to get stuck behind somebody that I've done all season long that's like, I can't race anymore, I'm done. And then I'm having to close all these micro gaps of all these people getting dropped. I didn't want that, so I was like, I'm going to stay at the front. I'm going to do what we talked about as a team. I'm going to be in moves. I'm going to follow moves. And it worked perfect. It was one of my best races of the year. I felt so good here. And this so I'm on a 2-week break right now, and this is like day 3 of me not riding a bike. So I'm like kind of like twitching already, which I don't know if anybody else has ever taken 2 weeks off. I never have. So I'm like twitching and having withdrawals already from biking because of this race, I think. Finishing this race was like, what? So pumped. So pumped on the weather, so pumped on the vibes, so pumped on the partying that was going on. All these sponsors that showed up. You had SRAM. You had Rafa handing out espressos prior to the race. You had DT Swiss. You had Red Bull throwing Red Bulls out. You had so much representation from the top level sponsors of the sport which it was just like, and the fans, unbelievable. So I saw they had a group ride that rode up from San Francisco, did a 100-mile ride. You had a bike check-in that was hosted by competitive cyclists. It was so cool to have all these people just cheering for you, so involved in the sport and so pumped to see where it is, because this is like, everybody knew what they're trying to do, so people came to support their ideas and their dreams about where they want to take this. That's just cool. When people put passion into something, that's awesome. It gets me pumped up, and to be part of this, even, huge. So yeah, like, got thrown through the washing machine. I lost a bunch of positions, as you can see, so having to just make my way back up, fight to the front. And I got shut down a lot. I knew I wasn't going to win. With 4 laps to go, I was at the front. Some guy comes around the corner going like 40 miles an hour, slams into the barriers. At that point, I already saw the Legion trains were organized, and it was I'm not a field sprinter, so I was like, why? I'm just gonna drill for one more lap to keep it fast, and then I'm just gonna peel off to the back mid-pack and just finish the race. So my race ends, my GoPro dies. I pulled off with 4 laps to go. Now we're gonna jump into Sebastian's camera, and Sebastian, he got 7th place. He rode a great race, and right here you see Connor right in front of him. So those are the 2 guys that, that was the goal. Get them to the end. Let's focus on these guys. These guys want to sprint. They like to throw themselves into the corners at 40 miles an hour into the final turn, and let's go for them. So moves were awesome. From what I've heard Sebastian tell me, the last 2 laps, it was pitch black. You can see a little bit of light shining through. We started about 20 minutes later than we were supposed to. So those last 4 laps was pretty dark. It was kind of sketchy. And a lot of people had clear lenses on. I had regular sunglasses on. That came off halfway through the race. As you can see, pitch black. They're going into, I believe this is 1 lap to go. So everybody's really fighting for that position, and it's strung out. And I don't have speed or power here, but I would imagine if we're going 30 almost the whole race, they're probably going mid-30s right here. And this is going into the finishing straight right here, going into 1 lap to go. Connor and Sebastian are still together, which is awesome to see. And I don't know if they knew they were still together at this point, or if Connor knew maybe this would have been the best opportunity to lead Sebastian out. And these are all things that we're going to work on next year and figure out. But, Connor drops back. Sebastian starts making his way up to the front. And as you can see, you got the Legion train and then all these guys swarming everywhere behind them, like an angry honeybee hive, just trying to hang on to that wheel. So turn 3 here. We're going into the final turn. Sebastian makes his move. Has to close a little bit of a gap here, but it's still so strung out. You got to remember, you have the whole lead out train and then about 3 guys right behind that lead out train. Going into the final turn here. Pitch black. Can't see anything. Crazy. But real quick, we ended on a great note. Awesome season to Amino Rip Factory Racing. Thank you for everything that you've done this year, putting me at the top level. Congrats to Sebastian and the team for getting 7th. Legion's already up the road. Justin Williams takes the win. Awesome to see the future of what's going to happen with cycling. So pumped. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Till next time. Deuces.